When it comes to MMOs, a lot of people are using keybinds, but few people are maximizing keybinds. That's why in this video, I'm going over some tips and tricks to help you take your keybinds to the next level and make sure you're using them to the fullest potential. I've been getting this question very, very frequently of how to get some good tips for setting up keybinds for World of Warcraft Burning Crusade. Now, some of these same principles will also apply for retail WoW, or really probably most MMOs that you play, but it is specifically going to be about World of Warcraft Burning Crusade. And I know when watching this, you might be like, well, keybinds are preference, just make them whatever you want. And yes, ultimately you can make your keybinds whatever you want. Keep preference in mind, but there are some tips and tricks that I think can really, really help make your life a lot easier. Having good keybinds will help maximize your gameplay for speed, efficiency, and reducing your errors so you're not doing things like fat fingering and using abilities that you didn't mean, especially in classic WoW where there's 30-minute cooldowns. Accidentally hitting the wrong button is a big, big deal. So we're going to jump into some tips for keybinds, but before we even get into your actual abilities, I want to talk first about movement. When I see a lot of people playing WoW for the first time, one of the first things that I notice are some errors that people make in their movement, which is a really, really big deal. You will see a lot of people doing what you're seeing here. Turning just like this. This is called keyboard turning. You can tell keyboard turning is almost like when a console player is trying to turn in a 360 versus a mouse and keyboard player. Now, I much love the console players, but it is just a fact that console players turn around slower than mouse and keyboard players. Same principle applies in World of Warcraft. Literally, keyboard turning is the difference between this and this. I mean, you literally can't even count how many times I'm turning just by turning my mouse. So first of all, it's not necessarily a keybind, but it does involve your movement. You want to turn your camera left and right with your right click. You're holding down right click to turn left and right. And the reason that is important is because I'm about to encourage you to make a change to your movement keybinds that will not even allow you to do this anymore. I left this on simply for the purposes of the video. First thing you want to do when playing World of Warcraft, even start this at level 1, okay? And if you haven't already, it's not too late to start. Hit escape, go into keybinds within the movement category, and you are either completely going to unbind turn left and turn right, or leave them as left arrows in case you ever want to do it for making funny moments or whatever. But for gameplay, you do not want to be turning left and right. I would encourage you to do a few things. One, some people, you might even want to unbind move backwards as a whole, because again, move backwards is slower than moving forwards. You really don't want to move backwards. You just want to turn around and run, because you're going to be moving faster, getting out of fire, moving from raid mechanics in PvP, whatever it might be. So some people might just want to go ahead and unbind. I leave it. I'm a streamer, so sometimes I might have moments like this, and sometimes I like to be able to have full movement for the immersion of the RPG style of my character. But if you're going to keep it, just note, you don't want to really make that a part of your play style, because you don't want to be really handicapping yourself by moving backwards. But honestly, what I would encourage you to do is change A and D, which would normally be turn left and turn right, and change that to strafe left. You can either do that with A and D, or some people might even do it with Q and E, and therefore you're actually just literally strafing left with Q, W moving forward, and E strafing right, which actually allows you to do this kind of movement. So on my left hand, I can't even turn around my keyboard if I wanted to. But if you use Q, W, and E, that actually opens up A, S, and D as new keybinds for abilities if you want. I don't prefer that. I prefer to use Q and E for abilities, and I just keep W, A, S, D, because I play a lot of other video games. And so I don't want to get used to Q and E as my movement. And then when I go play an FPS like Valorant or Halo, whatever it might be, now my muscle memory is all confused. But starting off with that movement is absolutely huge. Make sure that you unbind turning and turn them to strafing instead. That is going to be absolutely huge. Now, when we get to the actual keybinds for actual abilities, those things, there's a few things you can do to make your life easier. First of all, there's some great quality of life updates that I would recommend you download. add-ons, things like dominoes. That's dominoes what I use. There are a few other ones, but because I use dominoes, I'll use that for the purpose of our conversation today. Dominoes is a great add-on, and here's why. Dominoes allows you to move all your abilities, your bars, resize them, really customize your screen. But for the conversation for today, the reason I love dominoes is with the Blizzard UI, the user interface by default, in order to change your keybinds, you have to hit escape, go to keybinds, and you have to go all the way to your action bar. You got to count out, like, you know, is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? You got to do your multi-action bar. You have to enable your multi-action bar in the first place, and that's very confusing for a new player. And when you want to change a keybind, it just takes significantly longer. With add-ons like dominoes, you literally just type in the chat /KB for keybinds, and you'll see that it takes me to the screen. Looks the same, but this will pop up. And when I hover over every mouse, you'll see that I can change the keybind, okay? So if I hit escape, it deletes that keybind. And now I can set that keybind to whatever I want, and I'm gonna set it to 3, and then hit okay, and there it's set. Super easy. Super duper duper easy. So dominoes is gonna be a huge just quality of life update to help you get some good keybinds in place. Now let's talk about actual tips and tricks that you wanna keep in mind when setting your keybinds. First tip I'm gonna give, if you haven't already seen my previous video about the best MMO mouse for MMOs, go ahead and check out. We'll put in the link in the description below. My favorite is the Corsair Scimitar. This thing is incredible. There's 12 buttons on the side. And when it comes to World of Warcraft, especially Classic, the thing about keybinds is you start running out pretty quick because there's so many. So I got 12 buttons on my left hand. Then I can use modifiers like Control, Shift, and Alt. And that actually gives me 48 keybinds on my right hand, which is really, really, really great. And if you feel like MMO mice are too overwhelming for you, go ahead and watch that previous video. Hopefully it'll change your mind. When it comes to an MMO mouse, it really helps you on your left hand be able to focus on movement, on your right hand be able to focus on abilities. But if you don't have an MMO mouse, if you are using a keyboard for keybinds, there's a few rules of thumb that you want to keep in mind when setting your keybinds. A few things that you want to do. First, I would encourage you to make sure that you do not need to stretch your hand too far away from WASD in order to hit the button. Why? Because again, we want to make sure keybinds help us have speed, efficiency, and reducing error that is causing us to fat finger cooldowns that we didn't mean to hit. And so anytime you start stretching too far away from your keyboard, you start accidentally hitting wrong buttons, or it messes up your movement. And then when you go back to WASD, you know, you start screwing up. So anything past a certain point on the keyboard, I think should be just completely off limits. For me personally, anything past the T, G, V, and 5 row, you should probably keep off limits, unless you got some freakishly long fingers. And if you do, then more power to you. But for the average player, I would not recommend you going past the number 5. Really, I would probably recommend you to keep it to 4. I don't go past 4. And I know it shows that I do on my screen, but again, that's because my keybinds are actually with my mouse. But before I started using an MMO mouse, I didn't go past 4, and I did not go past T, G, and V. And even those buttons are actually a bit of a stretch, and I would encourage you to use those for maybe some longer cooldowns that you don't need to hit so instantaneously. So what are good keybinds that I would encourage you to stay within? Keybinds like Q, E, Z, X, C, R, F, T, and G. Those are going to be some really, really great keybinds for you to use for World of Warcraft. Again, they're within close proximity of WASD, which is going to help you with speed, especially in like, oh crap moments where you might accidentally die. You need to hit a button. You need to get that interrupt in arena, whatever it might be. Having those are absolutely huge. You got to be able to have them quick. It's the split-second decisions in World of Warcraft that will keep you alive and help you accomplish your goals. So having those buttons is going to be very, very important. Another thing, right? Those are, how many did I give you? Q, E, Z, X, C, R, F, T, G, and 1 through 4. Not many buttons. You can see on my screen, I've got a lot of buttons and a lot of buttons over here. So you're already out. That's when you start introducing Shift, Alt, and Control modifiers. So you can do a lot of those same buttons, but now you're holding Shift. They're different abilities. Holding Control, they're different abilities. Those are great things like there. Those are incredible. That's going to help you start picking keybinds that are close, that can help you get speed, efficiency, and reducing error. But keybinds for me are more than just what buttons should I assign them to. For me, when it comes to strategically thinking through keybinds, I think you should group your keybinds in similar groupings. Things like damage abilities. So grouping all of your keybinds that do damage in a similar place, right? Groups like damage, healing, crowd control, offensive cooldowns, defensive cooldowns, and even things for mobility. So here's what I mean by that. If you look closely at my abilities, I have a lot of my keybinds strategically grouped according to these abilities. So you see 1 through 4, those are my damaging abilities. 1 through 4, those are the ones, those are my rotations. I'm going to be using those very, very frequently. They're just right in the bottom row, easy for me to look down if I need to see the cooldowns, all that kind of stuff. Very, very easy for me to maintain. I hardly ever look at them because they're just my basic abilities. But if you look right above that, RF, Q, RF are next to each other, and then I actually separate Q on the other side of W just to make a difference between healing potion, armor potion, and then mana potion. But you'll see right in this row, when I look visually on the screen, my potions are in one area. So I've grouped those abilities next to each other, right? If you look at some other groupings that I have, 8, 9, 0, dash, and equal sign, these are a lot of my defensive cooldowns, right? Defensive cooldowns, and then I have Divine Intervention, which is a 1 hour cooldown way off at the bottom right of my mouse. 1, because it is a long cooldown, but 2, because it's 1, I want to make sure I don't fat finger the wrong button. But you can see I've got my Blessing of Sacrifice, a cooldown at 8. You can see I've got my trinket, defensive trinket, 9, right? I got my stone form armor as a dwarf, 0. And my other trinket, really close. Really, really, really close. And I've got them split by the stone form so I don't accidentally in the moment use the wrong trinket. But that's my mindset. But you can see they're grouped together. You can see that shift 1, shift 2, and shift 3 are all of my like, oh my goodness, I'm about to die. Oh crap, save my life keybinds. Shift 1, they're grouped. So visually, when I look down real quick and in a second notice, I can see what emergency cooldowns I have available. Another quick little tip. I don't have these as 1, 2, 3. I have them as shift 1, 2, 3. Why? Anything that I use that has a long cooldown, that is a really important emergency keybind, I set to a modifier so that I don't accidentally press it, right? If it was a button that's really easy for me to hit, like 1, 2, 3, or 4, maybe even E, maybe even Q, sometimes you might accidentally press those buttons, but you're not accidentally going to press shift 3, right? You're not accidentally going to press, equal sign all the way in the bottom top right of your mouse, whatever it is, right? So I set these keybinds to abilities, to things that I want to make sure I'm not accidentally going to click them. So that's a little tip too. You can see I've got my healing abilities, shift 4, shift 5. They're next to each other. They're grouped, right? You can see as a paladin, all of my auras, I've got a bunch: righteousness, crusader, wisdom, light, justice, and vengeance, all grouped alt 1 through 6. So when I'm looking at my abilities, when I'm trying to memorize and keep things, in my muscle memory, having them grouped is very simple. And one of the last ones I do, all of my abilities that are exclusively used on undead or demons as a paladin, alt 7, alt 8, alt 9. These are rare buttons. Remember, anything that you're going to use often or quick, you want to keep near the 1, 2, 3, 4, the buttons you can access quickly. You don't use these abilities too often unless you're prot tanking, in Karazhan. But even then, these are longer cooldowns, 30 seconds, 15 seconds, 1 minute. So and these aren't going to save my life or prevent a death, maybe turn evil would, but they're not such emergency buttons that I want to make sure they're so close to where my hand is by default. So keeping some of these things in mind is very beneficial, right? Grouping your abilities in different categories, keeping in mind that you're not stretching your hands too far away from the WASD movement because you want your movement to be clean. Grouping them together, and then just building that muscle memory, adding modifiers to increase the amount of buttons that you can use, but then also adding modifiers to prevent yourself from accidentally using a keybind, which is very, very, very important. Last thing I want to mention in this video about keybinds that is very, very, very important. This one's going to be more so for arena players, but if you're a healer, even in PvE, this could be applicable in certain situations. You want to go into your keybinds, and you want to go into targeting. This is a crucial tip if you play, especially if you play Arena. When you're playing Arena as a healer or a DPS, or especially someone like a Prot or a Ret Paladin in Arena, where you not only are healing, but as a Ret Paladin, I can put a bop on my teammate. I can give them Blessing of Freedom. I can give some sort of friendly ability to one of my teammates. And so what don't I want to do during Arena? I don't want to be running around here, right? Running around pillars, fighting an enemy, do a bunch of work, and then have to move my mouse like all the way up here and click on my teammate and then hit, you know, freedom or bop, whatever it might be. Why? Because that, even if it takes 1 second to go all the way here and then going back to your enemy, that 1 second is enough time for that guy to get a CC off or get a heal, and now you didn't get the killing blow. You want to finish that kill, but you also want to save your teammate from dying. And so how do you make both happen the most efficiently? What I do is I go to my keybinds, and you can do target party member 1, target party member 2, and target party member 3. So that even while I am still here fighting this enemy, while I am fighting Trey, I don't have to click on anything. All I have to do, let's say that Setbacks is a rogue who's maybe, you know, maybe he's on my healer and I need to peel. All I need to do, if I'm fighting this rogue and I need to save Trey's life, I'm fighting rogue. All I need to do, look at my target, is I shift, right? I mouse wheel up, and look, Magnificor has been selected. He's my party player 1. He's been selected. So if Trey was Magnificor, actually I'm gonna boot Magnificor for the group. I might be group. There he is right there. So I'm attacking this guy. I scroll wheel up, I put freedom on him, and then I immediately go back to my target within a split second. So none of this like fighting, go over here, click, and then back. I literally scroll up, bop, and now I'm back. I'm now back to fighting. Very, very quick. If I hit the mouse wheel down, it selects party number 2, and if I scroll wheel down, it'll select party member 3. But you'll notice, look at the target. All I'm doing is scrolling up. It's on him. Click back. Scroll 1. See how quick and efficient I'm able to do that? You could do that with your party members, but here's the thing about TBC Classic, is you can't do that with your enemies. And in my opinion, for most players, being able to target your enemies is actually more important than being able to target your teammates, because if you don't have any utility or heals, like if you're a rogue, there's very little reason for you to actually need to click on your players. But everybody needs to be able to target their enemies. And sure, you can set a focus target, but in classic TBC, you cannot target your enemy without this trick right here. You can create a macro that will help you target Arena 1, Arena 2, or Arena 3, and it will literally do the exact same thing. And so all you got to do is create these macros, /target space arena 1, 2, or 3, no space between arena and the number, and you just put those on your bars. Okay, I'll give you an example right here. You just put those on your bars. If you're using dominoes or anything, /KB, set that to a keybind. Now, for me, this is my preference. Scroll wheel up, down, or middle click by default does my party members. You can use whatever your preference. But then if I want to do the same thing for enemy 1, 2, or 3, then I'm going to hold shift and do up. Shift mouse wheel down, or shift mouse wheel click. For me, up is player 1, click is player 2, down is player 3. And all you got to do is just set that to a keybind, and now instantaneously, what I can do is while I'm fighting maybe enemy target 3, and I see that enemy target 2 is casting a heal, I can just shift wheel up, stun, without even having to like move my mouse. Because again, it's the split second decisions that are crap. He managed to get the heal off while I was moving my mouse all the way over to his target frame. I clicked on it, then I hit my ability. It's these split second decisions, but being able to just mouse wheel up, clicker down, or shift mouse wheel up, clicker down for either player or target is huge. And remember, in TBC, you cannot do this without setting up the macro that I showed you. And again, one more time, /target space arena, no space 1, 2, or 3. Or of course, if you're doing 5s, you would need the number 4 and the number 5. but five start getting crazy. But they're huge, 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 huge. And again, what do keybinds want to do? Keybinds want to help you have speed, help you have efficiency, and help reduce error. So even when mousing over to your enemy targets, because you're trying to go so quick, you might accidentally click on the wrong target, and then you just stun the wrong guy, you sheep the wrong guy, whatever it might be. And so again, keybinds just reduce error. And so friends, I hope that this has been helpful to you, help you set up some keybinds for TBC Classic WoW. But again, these same principles you can apply to retail, and you can apply it to any MO that you play. And I hope these keyboard tricks will help you win, become a better player. Well, friends, I hope you enjoyed this video about how to maximize your keybinds. It's the little things that take players from being good to being great. I hope you got value out of it. If you did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, but also be sure to catch all my content live over at SusieLive.com. I stream on Twitch Tuesday through Saturday, starting at 10:30 a.m. And here's the deal. I'd love to get some games in with you, play WoW, play a variety of different games. But most importantly, just get to know you and engage with you in chat. Come have you join the community. We'd love to have you. Hope to see you in the stream soon, friends. And don't forget, we'll see you in the next one. Peace!